Hey guys, it's Jake with the Product Specialist team at RDO Equipment Company. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to create a custom-tailored corn seeding setup file using the brand new Work Planner tool in the Operations Center mobile app. Let's start by navigating to our Plan tab at the bottom of the screen. In order to get started, we will need to know these two things: what crop season we're working with, which we can change by clicking on the arrow beside the 2021 work plan, and what type of operation we'll be planning between tillage, seeding, application, and harvest. In this example, we'll be creating a corn seeding work plan for 2021. Once we've selected those two items, you will notice that we already have some work in our queue. We will talk about this list and how we can prioritize our work here in a moment. But for now, let's go ahead and click the green plus button in the bottom right corner to start our seeding plan. Before we begin, it's important that I mention that all of our varieties, products, and tank mixes have all been preloaded. We have our tractor and planter in our account, we have already pre-populated our field identification information, and we have two operators we've created as well in Operations Center Web. In order for you to create a work plan, you really only need to know three things: the crop type, the client farm and field, and the target rate you wish to set for your seeding task. However, the more information you have, the more complete your setup file will be in your display, and the less manual entry will be needed in the cab. So as I said, we're creating a corn seeding work plan, so let's start by selecting corn as our crop. And we've been using a 112-day DeKalb variety that I will search for in my variety list. If you wish to have more than one hybrid in your list, you can simply select the Select Additional Variety button next to the green plus button, and you can add as many varieties as you would like to have available on your setup file. But keep in mind these two things. One, you can modify this as many times as you need prior to sending the file to the machine. And two, in order for you to maximize the efficiencies that are gained with Work Planner, having a single variety populate in the display will allow you or your operator to get started right away instead of needing to decide on which variety to use in the field. As for the product or tank mix, if you put an insecticide or a fertilizer down at planting, you can select from your pre-loaded products or tank mixes, and you'll be able to assign those rates as well, keeping in mind that tank mixes do have predefined use rates. If you do choose to add an additional liquid or granular product that will be metered by a rate controller, you will need to update your display to 21-1 software as soon as it is available. Until then, application equipment and rate controllers are not compatible with Work Planner setup files. In the More Details section, this is where we can select our tractor and planter as well as our operator who will be running the machine. In this case, I'm going to select our 8R370 tractor, our DB44 planter, and then I'm also going to add myself as an operator. If you plan on potentially having more than one machine running in the same field, or if you're unsure which machine in your fleet might be completing the task, you can add additional equipment and operators by simply clicking the plus button here. Work order and work instructions are two new additions that carry over from the Jobs app. In many cases on the farm, you may not have a work order ID system in place, and that's just fine. If you're a commercial operator, it's very possible that you may have a job code or task ID that you assign to your operators. And in our case, we're just going to put corn planting here as our identifier. For application tasks especially, this can be really helpful because we can identify a burn down, a pre-emerge, and a post-emerge application. Or for a tillage operation, we can have a VT pass or a true set prescription pass, or a secondary or primary tillage pass that we may have that we want to keep tabs on. Work instructions can be honestly as much or as little as you'd like to provide to the operator in order for them to have the relevant information they need to get the job done as planned. It could be a basic note to denote where a rock pile is, or a hazard, or could be marking a field entrance, whatever it may be. This is just a little place where you can add a note that will populate in the display. In this case, I'm just going to add watch out for rocks. And because I have a prescription, I'm going to add use prescription. Now we click next. The Select Fields tab is where all of our field identification information is selected. In this case, we have 3 fields to choose from, and 2 of them have no boundaries, no active boundaries, which would be our big field and our MN field. And they're denoted by yellow and gray circles with question marks in them. And 1 has an active boundary, this would be the land lab, and it's denoted by an orange polygon that is shaped exactly like the field. You'll want to note that while having the minimum information will allow you to complete the task, by not having an active boundary, no area information will populate, so tools like work progress on the home screen will not take into account any of these additional acres because it doesn't know how many acres to count. So for this task, we're going to select our land lab field and click next. The field details section is one of the coolest parts of the process, in my opinion, and it's where we have the ability to designate target rates if they're not predefined by tank mixes, and we can add prescription files, set and prioritize our first guidance line on our machines, etc. Now, there are 2 different approaches to this step. One is to set the same target rate and include all guidance lines for all fields selected on the previous page. So in this case, we would select our target rate, and it would populate for every single one of the fields, and include all guidance tracks would include literally all guidance tracks for all fields selected. The second approach is going to be a little bit more time consuming, but it will allow us to go field by field, and we can select the arrow right here, and we can custom populate the rates and the guidance information that we choose. So in our case, we want to select that arrow, the arrow beside the land lab, and we can either type in a flat rate for the planner to follow, or we can click the green plus button here to add our prescription file. And so for the land lab, we do have a special variable rate script that we built in the Agrium prescription creator, and we're going to select that one right here. And so one thing to keep in mind is that in the mobile app, everything defaults to pounds per acre. So in this case, we're going to need to change it to seeds per acre. And if we choose that we want to go back to our flat rate, we just simply have to select set flat rate by clicking the plus sign. Now, as for guidance, much like how it's done in the web version, we have the ability to select individual guidance tracks that are tied to this field. In this case, for our field, we only want the east-west track, we want the west headlands north, and we want the north-south headland, with the east-west being the very first one. This is the active one that will populate in the display first as the primary guidance track to start with. After that, we're ready to click Save. And once we have everything entered in, we're ready to select Add Work to save our work plan. Any new planned work will default to the top of our list here. And if we were to do a simple select all, the priority of that work would put our land lab at the top. Now, in reality, we actually want to plant our big field first and do the land lab second. So what we're going to do is select the 3 vertical circles at the top. We're just going to call that our header menu, and we're going to select Prioritize. After that, we're going to see the up-down arrows on each of our planned work tabs, and then we can drag and drop them into the correct order. Now, after we sort our planned work in the display by priority, the big field will be at the top, just like it is in this list. Now, keep in mind, if you make any modifications to the priority of any other part of this list, you will need to push a new work plan to this machine. If you find something that's in this list that needs to be changed, simply select the green down pointing arrow and then the Edit button, and it will bring you right back into the work plan again, where you can add, subtract, or modify anything you need. Now that we have our list and our planned work properly prioritized, let's select the header menu again, and we're going to navigate to complete work. From there, you're going to notice that all our arrows are now right facing. And if we were to click on any one of them, we'll get a prompt asking us if we would like to mark the plan as complete. Now you can't go backward with this. So we're just going to select the big field because we're okay if we lose this from our list. But as soon as you do this, it does mark it as complete and it does remove it from the list. So if you do need it back in there, you would have to repopulate everything and start over again. Also at this point, it makes the request to create the completed work documentation data layer that will populate an Analyze and Field Analyzer. Selecting delete work from our header menu does exactly what it says. It just deletes any of the files or any of the work plans that you choose to delete. And you do have the ability to cancel, so it isn't just a forward moving. You do have the ability to back out to either generate the setup file or to push the file directly to a connected machine. From the header menu, we're going to select send to machine or send to equipment. Then we're going to select which work plans we wish to push onto the machine via wireless data transfer or create a setup file that we can use the My Transfer app and a mobile data transfer stick or drive or compatible flash drive to upload to the display manually. If the machine you selected, as we'll see here, if the machine that we had selected on our planned work had wireless data transfer capabilities and had an updated firmware, had the firmware update that was required, it would automatically populate and we would simply select next to move on. In this case, we don't have that. What we have is a sprayer, which we're not going to send this work to a sprayer, but you can see that it's grayed out and it says firmware update required. That means that it's running a software that's older than 20-3 and it is not compatible with setup files created via Work Planner. The other one is a wireless data transfer enabled machine. This 9RX does have the updated software. It is capable of receiving the Work Planner file, but it was not actually selected in the original planned work. So it's literally just giving you the option if you'd like to send it to it. In this case, we're not going to send it to either of them. We're just going to select next. And here's where we are going to rename our file. We're going to name this 2021 corn planting. And this is the file name that we're going to look for in either our files manager or on our My Transfer app in order for us to manually download and transfer this machine to the machine. After that, click send. It will create the setup file and it will populate in Files Manager or in My Transfer for us to manually download and put in the machine. And that's how you create a custom tailored corn seeding setup file using Work Planner.
Thank you for watching. Connect with us by subscribing to Precision Ag Answers on YouTube and following RDO Equipment Company on social media. Visit rdoequipment.com for more precision ag resources and solutions.